I'm Donna, an OpenSciEd teacher. This video will go over B.5 Lesson 3. Students are going to build on what they figured out from previous units about genetics and connect it to the bear species and common ancestry. In this video, we're going to look at how we got here, lesson at a glance, key moments, and material management tips and tricks. All right, how we got here. During lesson 2, we figured out that when encountering brown bears, polar bears are submissive and they overheat easily without snow to cool down, without that thermoregulation mechanism. In this lesson, we're wondering how similar or different are polar brown and black bears. All right, this is an investigation lesson. It'll take 2 days, 20 minutes of material preparation, mostly making copies. Not a hands-on investigation, but it does require student devices. We've got 2 sense-making loops in this lesson, so let's see those in more detail. All right, we're going to start by having students share what they figured out from the previous class, from the previous lesson, and then have an initial idea discussion about those similarities and differences between polar bears, brown bears, and black bears. Then we're going to investigate those similarities and differences with a station investigation. And we're going to make sense of what have we figured out from that investigation. And we're figuring out that we have evidence that polar brown and black bears have a lot of similarities and differences based on their anatomy and behavior. And we're wondering, do those similarities and differences give us a clue about how related the bear species are to each other? In loop 2, which will take place over the second day, we're going to investigate their relatedness using DNA and then build a bear tree using sample DNA of a bunch of different bear species, not just brown bears, polar bears, and black bears. And then we'll be completing an electronic exit ticket. Students are going to figure out that polar bears and brown bears are more genetically similar to each other than to the other bear species and share a more recent common ancestor. And we're wondering, how did polar and brown bears become a different species if they are so closely related genetically? All right, through the lesson, these are the 3 key takeaways. Polar brown and black bears have a lot of anatomical and behavioral similarities and differences that we can use trees to communicate hypotheses about relationships between species, and that polar bears are more genetically similar to brown bears and that they share a more recent common ancestor than they do with any of the other bear species. All right, the key moments. Starting with part 2, the initial idea discussion about the similarities and differences. So we're going to visually organize the similarities and differences between the 3 bear species using sort of like a 3-layer Venn diagram. And key findings are that black bears are smaller than the others, that brown bears are more aggressive, and as we learned previously, polar bears have the NOS3 gene allele. They've got a different allele, and they have vastly different diets. Part 4, we're going to make sense of those similarities and those differences. So we'll be starting with a small group discussion and then leading to a whole group discussion about what we figured out from the investigation stations. And some really great questions to help facilitate this discussion. Can the similarities and differences help us predict what happened to the bear populations when we look at their teeth? Does that tell us any information about what happened in the past? And which bears are more closely related? Can we use anatomical features, their jaw, their skull, the types of teeth that they have to figure out which bears are more closely related to each other? All right, part 7. This is when we're going to be introducing DNA evidence for common ancestry. So we're going to investigate relatedness using DNA. We're going to start with some sample DNA. We're not related to the bears. We've got 3 species, and we've got those nucleotides again, A, T, C, G. And we're just looking at which ones have more in common and which ones have a bigger percent difference. So we're really thinking about which species had the highest percent difference from the others, and then how can we model this relationship? And a lot of the times, students will draw back to some previous knowledge and they'll be like, oh, branching diagrams. And then we'll sort of model what that could look like for these 3 fictional species. All right, part 8. So now that we've looked at some sample DNA for 3 different species, now we're going to be looking at bear DNA. So we're going to use a computer to analyze some long DNA sequences. What I really like here is pointing out to the students and having a discussion about how quickly were we able to figure out the differences when we were looking at, the 10 to 15 nucleotides. Okay, that took us about this long. Now let's look at these much longer DNA sequences. How long do you think that would take us to compare all these different species? Yeah, that would take a really long time. So how can we do it faster? And a lot of the times the students will be like, oh yeah, computers. I'll be like, perfect. Let's use a computer. So what did we figure out when we used a computer to analyze those DNA sequences? We figured out that the polar bears and the brown bears are grouped together, and that we think that they might be more related, and that they split from 1 species to 2. And then we're going to co-construct common ancestor together. All right, so where do we go from here? We use DNA evidence to figure out that polar bears and brown bears are more genetically similar and share a more recent common ancestor compared to the other bear species. But now we're wondering what happened to cause the polar bears and brown bears to split? What made it so that they became different species? All right, material management tips and tricks. Okay, my first one is that the investigation station, if students don't have devices, not at the school, forgot them at home, I have led this pretty well with printed copies of the slideshows and set that up as stations around. Next one is that it took me a little bit to figure out how to use the DNA website. And the big one was, where do I find the picture? So after I added in all the long DNA sequences, I was like, wait, I can't find my tree. So what I've been using is under the tabs, and I've got a picture here for you. The bear DNA tree can be found under guide tree. So if you click that and then you scroll to the bottom, then you're going to see the tree that is in the slideshow. So I really recommend play around with the website before modeling it or using it with the students. And then a lot of my students were challenged with the idea of common ancestor, and I understand why. So when we say, because a lot of times I'll get questions saying, wait, so polar bears came from brown bears? I'm like, we gotta take a step back here. So there was a common ancestor that wasn't a polar bear, that wasn't a brown bear, that was before these species. And then that species split off. And so I think a lot of the times the challenge is we don't have a visual in our head of like, what does this common ancestor look like? And so a lot of times when I address that with my students, then we're able to move forward a lot more easily, and we have a lot more success with common ancestor. All right, personal glossary management. As I said, we're going to co-construct common ancestor together. And then for poster management, really referencing that bear adaptation poster again, of the differences and the different adaptations that polar bears, brown bears, and black bears have with each other. All right, well, that is the end of the lesson video. So one of my favorite lessons, because it does a great job connecting all the knowledge, questions, what we figured out from the previous 2 lessons into something tangible, that bear tree that was really engaging for my students. My biggest tip for you is to test the website before using it, and that you can demo the website instead of having students copy and paste everything, if that works for you as well. Oh, thank you so much again, and you got this.